about how I basically quit stripping and moved to China. Okay, so everybody knows the economy in the US and just really everywhere in the world is just going through a major change right now, especially with this Uranus and Taurus transit going on and just a lot of astrological influences in the world. The economy is just going through a big shift. So for the longest, I was dancing in Miami and the clubs just became so slow. Like, it was very hard for me to make money. I remember my rent was only $1,000 and I was struggling to pay that. I was renting an efficiency and my landlord was so nice. He even allowed me to pay like $250 a week and I was struggling to pay that. So about like 4 or 5 years ago, I met this guy in the strip club. He was actually a hairstylist, and yeah, he worked in the strip club as a hairstylist, so he wasn't a customer. And we had got cool over the years, and I remember him telling me, because he would always travel and stuff, and I remember him telling me one time like, oh, you know, you should get your passport and stuff like that so you could just have it. You know, at that time I was like very stubborn and ignorant, and I was just like, I'm damn she Jamaican, like I don't want to get no US passport, US citizenship, like I'm Jamaican till I'm motherfucking duh. But that was so ignorant, but that's just how I was feeling. But long story short, I had went and got my passport and I started traveling. I went back to Jamaica. I went to the DR. As you guys seen on here, I got my teeth done in DR. And, you know, I've been to a couple places, Costa Rica, here and there, whatever. Not too much. And then I went to Thailand. Y'all, I posted that vlog as well. But so yeah, over the past couple years, I got my passport. But I remember him telling me the reason why I brought him up was because he was like I said, he was a traveler, and I think I asked him like, you know, like where would you live, like what's your favorite country or whatever. He was like China, and I was like China. He was like, yeah, like it would be dope if you move there, like, you know, we could move there and da 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 da. At the time, like I said, this is a purely platonic friendship. I actually thought he was gay because he was a hairstylist when I first met him, but turns out he's been married, had kids, whatever, but we were just friends. And so I remember like a year ago, around the time when Trump came back in office and the inflation and all that stuff started happening, I just remember thinking, and I was struggling with my rent, I just remember thinking like, damn, I really should have moved to China, because at this time he had moved to China and he was teaching. That's how he was making his money, as a teacher. So I'm thinking like, damn, I want to move to China because I know it's cheap over there. But I was like, how the hell am I gonna like pay to live in China? Like, how am I gonna make money out there? So I remember I hit him up and I was just telling him, you know, I'm struggling, da da da, I hate the US, like I want to leave this motherfucker, like, oh my God. So he was just like, oh yeah, you know, you could come to China and pretty much work and be a teacher. So I'm thinking, don't I need a bachelor's degree and all this stuff? And you need a TEFL certificate to be a teacher overseas. So I didn't have none of those things. And he was basically like, yeah, we can, you know, finesse that, da 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 da. So I'm like, okay, cool, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, finesse the documents. You heard me correctly. So I'm trying to use my words correctly. So at this time, the strip club in Miami had just like completely slowed down. This was like going on a year ago now. So I pretty much was going to Atlanta to make money. That's why you see in the Atlanta stripper vlogs. And I went to Atlanta to make money. I would stay in Atlanta for like weeks, pay my rent, and still be in Atlanta. Like, so it had became a point where my landlord was like getting tired of me being late with my rent. So he basically came up with this excuse. I call it an excuse. He was like, Yeah, my grandson is getting out of college and he needs the efficiency to live. So, you know, I had to get the fuck on. So I was like, damn, like, if y'all been on my channel, y'all know I made like videos of me being homeless and shit in Miami. So I was just terrified. Like, I did not want to go back to that lifestyle. So I was just like, oh my God, like, what the fuck am I gonna do? So I was like, you know what, fuck this. I'm gonna just go to Atlanta. I'm gonna save up enough money and I'm just gonna move to China, and I'm gonna, when I get to China, I'm gonna figure out this teaching thing and I'm just gonna go off faith. So that was my whole plan. Like, I went to Atlanta and at first it was a struggle. Like, it was really bad. And then I just worked, saved up to get a license to work in a better club, got a better hairstyle, and I started making money. And really, to keep it a stack with you guys, that was my only plan, to go to Atlanta. I was just like, I just need to get there. I just need to make $2,000 and get the fuck out this country, because I just can't do this shit no more. Like, being homeless, being in survival mode all the time, being in an environment as a strip club, as a person like me that's very spiritual, I'm not really made to be in that type of environment. I am a projector in human design, so I get really burnt out just doing a lot of physical labor. I can't do stuff like that. So I was just like, I really need to get the fuck out this country. Like, I literally can't survive here no more. So I went to Atlanta and I started like saving up my money, and I kid you not, it took me like a month or so, and I stacked the bread. And then in order to go to China, you don't need a visa. You could come to China for 2 weeks without a visa, okay? But I knew I wanted to stay here longer, so I had to get a 10-year visa. And in order to do that, I had to go to Los Angeles. So within the $2,000 budget that I accumulated from dancing, I literally had to spend some of that to go to LA. So I remember I was in LA for like 3 days trying to get this visa situation, because it takes about 2.5 days for the visa to come back. So I saved up the money in Atlanta. And like I said, I really made all that money in like a week. But I moved from Miami to Atlanta, and I went through trials and tribulations for like a month, basically working, not making no money, struggling, surviving. And then I started making more money once I changed my hairstyle, got my look together, yada yada yada. So it was like a week, I ran up 2 bands, and I was like, okay, once I get this 2 racks, that's it, I'm out. So once I got the money, I went to LA and I got my visa. I had paid like $300 for an Airbnb, and then I went and applied for my Chinese visa, and it was about like $150. I can't remember, but it wasn't more than like $200. It was not really that expensive. I got it expedited and I got it back in like 2 days. Once I paid for it, I paid for my flight. My flight to China on a one-way ticket was like $400, okay? And I already knew that this $2,000 budget was gonna cover everything. And I also knew that my rent, I already knew the apartment I wanted to stay in. I had the picture of this specific apartment already. I had my friend send me a picture of the apartment where I was gonna stay, yada yada yada. So everything was already planned within the $2,000 budget. So I'm thinking I'm gonna just get there, pay my rent, get a job, okay? So once I got my Chinese visa, I pretty much went to China. I flew out and I got here. I stayed in Hangzhou, which was a different city from the city I'm in, Changsha. And I stayed in like hotels. The hotels were like $12, $13 a night, like $15 the most. They weren't expensive. So I was spending money on hotels the first week I got here. And then once I came to my city, the first day I got to my city, I came here on a train. I literally got the apartment. But I didn't have, in China you need a WeChat to pretty much pay for everything. You pay for everything here through WeChat and Alipay. So in order to pay my rent, I had to pay through WeChat. I'm thinking, I got the cash out the ATM and everything. I'm thinking I could just give them the cash, and they're like, no, 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 no. Like, you need to set up your WeChat. So I had to get a phone, a Chinese phone and everything connected to my WeChat and all that. So the first day I got here, I literally came to the apartment, went to the leasing office, and they showed me the apartment, this very apartment that I'm in. And they were like, when I went back down to the leasing office and they were saying when I can't pay cash, they were like, you know what, just go upstairs, figure it out, you know, take a rest, whatever. And in 3 days, I literally stayed in here without signing the lease or paying the money. So once I got my WeChat and everything, I paid the money, and I pretty much paid $150 deposit and then $200 for the rent. But each month I pay, my rent is like $196. My electricity bill is no more than $30 a month. Yeah, my last bill was $27. And then my water bill is $7, and it goes by how much you use. So once you run out of water, you gotta repay. You can put more than $7 on, obviously, but they recommend that $7 is enough to last for a month, which it is. So I pay like $7 a month. And then my phone bill is the same thing with my phone. Once you run out of data, you could refill it. So I refill my data $14. Every time it runs out, I just put another $14 on there. And this is all US. So the whole thing is, a lot of people, when I made the video about me moving to China, a lot of people are like, how the fuck are you affording to live there? Like, what the fuck are you doing for money? So come to find out, when I first got here, I went to this hiring convention to get a job to be a teacher, and I was showing this guy, this like recruiter, my little documents, the bachelor's the bachelor's and the TOEFL score, and he was just looking at it like, never said anything, never got back to me, whatever. And then another roadblock was, which I knew before I got here, but then my friend was basically saying we could finesse that too. But the major reason why I did not why I do not teach for money in China, that's not what I do to make a living. I had to get a drug test, and I knew I wasn't gonna pass it because I was smoking weed every day, and in China you're not allowed to smoke. So I was like, damn, okay, I'm not gonna be able to pass the drug test. And it's a blood test. You can't fake a pee, use somebody else's urine. They're drawing your blood and they're testing it, so you can't finesse that. So I was like, okay, well, that's the dead end. I can't get a job, whatever. So I had called my little thanya, my man back in Miami. And around the time when I was living in Miami, when I was struggling, I had known this man for like 4 years at the time now, like, and he's an entrepreneur. He owns his own company. So I was basically working for him at the time when I was struggling to make money stripping. So and then we actually had broken up the day I moved from Miami to Atlanta. We got into a huge argument, and I was just like, yeah, we're done. Like, we ain't recovering from that one. It was so bad. So when I was in LA, he had called me and was like, where you at? Like, I miss you. Like, we had started getting back cool. So once I got to China, we were on a friendly basis, talking again, whatever. So I remember one day I just called him and I was venting to him, just telling him what's going on. And he was like, you know what? I actually need a virtual assistant for my company. And I was like, really? He was like, yeah, like, I could really help you, you know, pay you like $250 a week or whatever. I'm just sitting here to myself like, damn, you couldn't pay me this $250 a week when I was there. But times and things just weren't like that at the time or whatever. And it's just really interesting that I'm an astrologer, because there are certain transits that happen to influence certain things. So I just look at it as like everything happens for a reason and everything's meant to be the way it is, because Uranus going through my 7th house, this energy is like classic, that energy. So I was just like, okay, so basically that's how I make money. Like, I just do virtual assistant for my friend's company back home, and that's what I do, and it works. I'm able to save. I have to leave the country every 3 months, because on a 10-year tourist visa you have to leave the country. So that's how I went to Vietnam for my first visa run. And yeah, so that's pretty much it, and it's been going pretty well for the most part. I actually really do like living in China, and I'm glad I went to Vietnam, because I thought about moving there for a minute, but I went there to see and I did not like it. It was so ghetto. I loved it, but it reminded me a lot of the US. Like, out of all the Southeast Asian countries I've been to, which is Vietnam and Thailand, Vietnam is so ghetto. Like, I like to compare, Hanoi is like Atlanta, yeah. Da Nang is Miami. Everybody knows that's the Miami of the Southeast Asia. And Ho Chi Minh is literally New York City. Like, even the size of the rats is like New York. They have a Times Square, the rush, the vibe, everything is in New York to the T. So yeah, Vietnam, it was cool, but the people there are just, I don't know. This video is not about Vietnam. But I love China. That's why I was trying to compare it. Like, the people here are definitely a little bit different. They're more, they're not finessers and scammers like Vietnamese people. Okay. They're more, they follow the rules, they're respectful, and they mind their business, and they really treat you like a celebrity here. Like, people always want to take a picture of me whenever I'm in public. But for the most part, yeah, people are polite. It's clean, and I just like it here. Like, it's not like the city I live in is very quiet. The area I live in is very quiet. Obviously, if you go downtown, it's more like noisy and stuff. But I live in a very nice neighborhood, and I just really like it. I'm at peace. I'm able to work from home, and I'm not like in survival mode anymore. And I just really like this life that I'm living. I feel like it's something, I feel like I'm at my peak as far as just what I've always wanted to, how I've always wanted to conduct and live my life. So yeah, I just wanted to make this video because, you know, people like to be in my business, and because I make money online, this is my form of clout chasing. This is how I get views. I just tell my business. So this is my form of clout chasing. I don't get on here and talk about other celebrities and people. I just share my life because people find it interesting. So yes, videos like this, I realize people are more engaged with when I just, instead of me just making like real scripted astrology videos, I just wanted to do something that's like real, more authentic, more so that you can, you know, get to see me and stuff. So if you have questions or you just want to comment, go ahead and comment down below to let me know what you think and your thoughts and opinions. And if you like this kind of content from me, I would really appreciate if you smash the like button so I can know that you know, you fuck with the content. Yeah, as an astrology tip, if you would like a natal reading or a synastry reading, feel free to email me directly. I have gotten a lot better when it comes to detailing the prices and the time and just what each reading is for. And I'm very proud of how much I've gained in experience when it comes to synastry. So yeah, definitely reach out to me if you need a reading. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I would love to see you in another video. Mwah. Peace.